There you go.
It's an absolute pleasure to be with you today at this wonderful meeting where learning, fun, and health meet over the ocean. And before we dive into our topic, I would like to take a moment to thank the organizers and volunteers and all of you for being here and investing your health. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, as you may have noticed, I have a strong Italian accent.
I love it.
My students say it's a blessing in disguise because it keeps them attentive and engaged. So, be prepared for a wonderful exploration with me today. Just sit back, listen carefully, and enjoy the ride. So, how many of you, okay, how do I turn? Okay. How many times have you heard that the key to a successful diet is consistency? That you need to stick to it forever to reap the benefits, or else it's all for nothing. And how many of you have heard that a ketogenic diet, or keto, is unsustainable, and that's actually a good thing, otherwise it would kill you if you stay on it long enough? All those fatty foods will clog your arteries like a backed up kitchen sink filled with bacon grease. But many of us disagree with that. For me, transitioning from a typical Italian diet based on pizza, spaghetti, and tortellini to a keto diet was easy, and I never went back. Over the past 15 years, I've been alternating between a keto and a low-carb diet, and I enjoy the benefits of keeping in shape while indulging in all the foods I love, fish, meat, and veggies, feeling, just stuffing myself until up to the brim. And by this time, some of you may have noticed that I like to order multiple entrees and even go for a second round at the Windjammer. Just ask to the wonderful ladies that have shared the table, the dining table with me. Our waiter called us Spice Girls. Yeah, Spice Girls. Are you Spice Girls in the audience today? Ah, yeah. Okay. Maybe I can compete with Dr. Tro, but the point is that I'm eating just fish, meat, and vegetables. It's almost impossible to gain weight if you do that and exercise too. So, anyway, but not everyone is like me. For example, my Italian friends think I'm crazy, and they will never be able to give up their precious pasta forever. But just because they think they will never be able to stick to a keto diet forever, does that mean that it's pointless for them to even try it for a short term? Maybe you are also unsure whether you want or should be sticking to a keto diet forever. Should you then refrain from even trying it? Today, I'm going to challenge the conventional wisdom that short-term dietary changes don't matter. I will show you that sometimes they do, and they can improve or worsen your eating habits for the long run. So you better pay attention to make sure you don't do it the wrong way. And hopefully by the end of this talk, you will be able to decide whether giving keto a try is worth it. Get ready for a surprising discovery from our secondary analysis of the Stanford diet fit study by Professor Christopher Gardner. This was the largest randomized clinical trial ever undertaken to compare a low-carb and a low-fat diet. It involved 609 overweight men and women who were randomized to either a low-carb or a low-fat diet, which they followed for 1 year. An important feature of both diets was that both diets minimized the consumption of processed food, added sugars, and refined grains. Now, despite the high expectations, the results published in 2018 were a disappointment for the low-carb community. Both groups lost a similar amount of weight over 1 year, around 10 pounds, challenging the belief that a low-carb diet leads to greater weight loss. And here's how the New York Times reported the study. The key to weight loss is diet quality, not quantity, new study finds. This headline suggests that it doesn't matter whether you are restricting the quantity of fats or carbohydrate, because the key to a healthy diet is quality, so minimizing processed foods. And while we all agree that quality is important, does that mean that quantity of fats and carbs not matter at all? But here's the thing, that there was a catch that most people missed. This study was built on two premises. The first was that only diet that people can embrace for their lives are worth pursuing. And the second was that both a very low carbohydrate or keto diet and a very low fat diet, ultra low fat diet, are unsustainable. And for this reason, the participants were asked to consume either a keto diet with less than 20 grams of carbohydrate a day, or an ultra low fat diet with less than 20 grams of fat a day for only the first 2 out of the 12 months of the study. After this very short period, they were encouraged to increase their carbohydrate and fat consumption up to a level that they believed was sustainable for life. Wow. This sounds like a recipe for disaster, doesn't it? Yeah. And indeed, over the following 10 months, the two diets became more and more similar, blurring the lines between them. The keto group ended up eating more than 150 grams of carbs a day, and the low-fat group around 30% of calories from fat, which is very similar to the percentage fat consumption of a standard American diet. Therefore, we didn't know what happened to those who decided to stick to a keto or an ultra-low-fat diet for a longer time. Did they lose more weight than the other participants? Did they experience greater benefits? We didn't have the answers to these questions until I decided to take a closer look to the data. And what I found was very surprising. So in this secondary analysis, we focused on two groups of dieting diehards. So people who decided to stick to either a ketogenic diet or an ultra-low-fat diet for an additional month, so at 3 months, 1 month after being allowed to increase their fat or carbohydrate consumption. So now, Guess how many people were so masochistic to stick to these strict guidelines at 3 months?
60.
This is very optimistic. It was 18 for the keto group and 21 for the ULF group. Okay, these numbers may sound unimpressive and disappointing at first, but when you consider that these dieting diehards maintained such levels of fat or carbohydrates after being given the green light to indulge, is actually quite remarkable. Yeah. So, but when it comes to dieting, masochism works. Indeed, both groups experience significant benefits and maintain them at 12 months at the end of the study. So at 3 months, they lost twice as much weight, 20 pounds, than the overall population at 12 months. And they experienced a 30% reduction in insulin resistance as measured by HOMA-IR. So these findings seem to suggest that diet quality matters. So it's true what the New York Times said, because both groups experienced significant benefits because they both reduced added sugar, refined grains, and overall carbohydrate intake. But here's the thing. This doesn't matter that quantity, doesn't mean that quantity doesn't matter. Because by reducing refined grains and added sugar, both groups consumed a lower carbohydrate diet compared to the standard American diet or SAD. So the first key takeaway for you is embrace unprocessed, nutrient-dense food, and you will experience extraordinary benefits. But in the second part of our analysis, we found out that quantity really matters too, and the lower the carbs, the better. We examined the effects of these short-term diets on the eating habits and cardiovascular markers of both groups and found very interesting differences between them. So, first of all, picture this. You have just completed either a keto diet or an ultra-low-fat diet. You have lost 20 pounds. You have improved your insulin resistance. Now, what do? You are not required anymore to stick to such strict guidelines. Do you go back to your old dietary habits? Or do you maintain some aspects of your new diet? Here is what we found. So, over the following 9 months, both groups were able to maintain significant reductions in either carbohydrates or fats compared to their baseline levels, so their initial diet before the study. At 12 months, the keto group ended up eating 77 grams of carbohydrates a day. So this is not anymore a keto diet, but it's a low carbohydrate diet, and is a 66% reduction in carbohydrate consumption compared to their baseline levels. And for the ultra-low-fat group, they ended up eating 50 grams of fat a day, which is a 40% reduction compared to their baseline levels. However, when we next compared the intake of refined grains between the group, we were shocked by the stark contrast between them. So the ultra-low-fat group at 12 months ended up eating 50% more refined grains than the initial diet, than baselines. So 166 grams a day. In contrast, the keto group was able to actually maintain, even at 12 months, they were eating 50% less than their baseline diet, so 41 grams. They were eating, the ultra-low-fat group ended up eating 4 times more than the keto group. So why do you think the keto group had an easier time to maintain their reductions in refined grains? Any ideas?
They felt better.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. There are many possible explanations. We can't be sure why, but I think the two most likely explanations are the following. First, think about what happens when you start a keto diet. You start scrutinizing food labels and uncover the hidden sources of sugar lurking in your food, from salad dressing to barbecue sauce. A tablespoon of barbecue sauce has the same amount of sugar than a donut. And then you investigate the carbohydrate content of different foods and realize that a serving of white rice can quickly exhaust your daily carb limit of 20 grams without providing much in terms of nutrition or satiety. It's a wake-up call, an aha moment that reveals the truth. Your diet is full of junk and it's time to take out the trash. The second explanation is that the ultra low-fat group may have compensated the strict reduction of fat by eating more refined grains, whereas the keto group was allowed to indulge in healthy fats which are satiating. And so this satiating was making it easier for them to resist the temptation of refined carbohydrates. So these findings challenge the conventional wisdom that a keto diet is only worth trying if you can stick to it forever. And if you have been hesitant to try a keto diet because you think you cannot or you don't want to stick to it forever, our research suggests that it may still be worth trying it. Even a short-term intervention can help you break unhealthy patterns and set on a path to better health. Who knows, maybe a short-term keto is the pasta fix my Italian friends need to overcome their spaghetti and tortellini addiction, or at least eat less of them. But the story doesn't end here. So in the third part of our analysis, we examined how these diets affected the cardiovascular risk markers of both groups. And here's where things become even more interesting. So let's address the elephant in the room when it comes to a keto diet or a low-carb diet. The concern about cholesterol, and specifically LDL cholesterol or LDL-C, also known as also known as the bad cholesterol. So it's a common concern and one that very often scares people away from trying these diets. Now, the LDL response to a low-carb or a keto diet is very individualized. We have seen that some people respond with an increase of 50% or more. These are called hyper-responders, but they represent usually less than 20% of people. On average, studies show that a keto diet or a low-carb diet only lead to modest increases in LDL. And even in our study, we observed a 12% increase in LDL-C in the first 3 months. But here's the thing, the story doesn't end there. When we looked over the following 10 months, we discovered that this increase was only temporary. So at 12 months, the cholesterol levels of the keto group went back to their baseline levels. In addition, the keto group experienced significantly greater benefits in terms of reductions in triglycerides level and an increase in HDL. This is crucial because the triglyceride HDL ratio, also known as the atherogenic index when it's logarithmically transformed, it's a powerful predictor of heart disease. It's actually, according to some studies, a better predictor compared to LDL alone. And generally, when this ratio is below 2 and ideally below 1.5 or 1, the LDL particle is less likely to oxidize and cause plaques. And this is because this ratio is a marker of the LDL particle size and also of insulin resistance. So usually, the lower the ratio, the bigger the LDL particle size and more benign, bigger particles tend to they are being associated with a lower cardiovascular risk, and the lower the insulin resistance. Over the past 15 years, my ratio has been 0.3, even reaching 0.27 sometimes. I'm so low, I'm practically underground. And even in our study, the keto group saw their ratio plummet from a very concerning value of 4.7 baseline to a healthy value of 1.8 at the end. And this improvement was significantly greater than the one we observed in the ultra-low-fat group, where it only improved from a value of 2.9 to 2.3, which was still in the unhealthy zone. So what can we take from this? Although the keto diet slightly and temporarily increased the quantity of LDL, it actually improved its quality, and so decreasing the overall cardiovascular risk compared to the ultra-low-fat diet. And so for you, it's very important to work with a clinician, if you want to try a keto or low-fat diet, to work with a clinician that can focus on the bigger picture of cardiovascular health, not only LDL, but also the triglycerides, HDL ratio, ApoB, and other markers. Only by looking at the bigger picture can we understand the impact of diet on cardiovascular disease risk. So, in summary, our research challenges the conventional wisdom that short-term dietary changes don't matter, and actually show that even a short-term keto can be a powerful tool for resetting your relationship with food, a catalyst for positive change, whether you want to embrace a keto diet forever or use it as a transition to a low-carb diet. The path to better health is not always a straight line, but with curiosity, flexibility, and a willingness to try new things, we can all find our way to a better health. Remember, even small changes can have a big impact over time. And with this, I would like to thank you for your attention. And invite you to connect with me. On my website, draronica.com, you can find a free webinar on epigenetics. So, nutritional epigenetics, which is the science of how the food we eat can not only change our cardiovascular disease markers, insulin resistance, weight, but also how our genes work in our cells. That's the topic of another talk, or watch the webinar. Thank you again.